What films did you had seen before of David Lynch's? What was it about his films that made you jump into this opportunity of writing to him, of getting to him? Because it must have been sort of a passion to just go for it.
Yeah, like everybody from my generation, I saw Eraserhead like 7 or 8 times. And then came Elephant Man, and I was completely surprised because this was even better, no? And opened to society, and when you could, you had tears in your eyes because of, I mean, the film was really touching. And in the same time, I applied at a film school, and I used this film to write a critique about. And after I was writing this critique over 3 months, I really worked long on it. I said, I want to meet this guy. He's exactly doing this what I want to do. And then I came to the film school, and then came June, and I saw it in a press screening. But in that moment I had already written to him. So I saw all his films.
Another thing is that the film works at many levels. We can see it as, like you say, a meditation on a movie. It is, but it's also a film about a creative process. We see David Lynch's creative process, and we see your creative process as well. I wonder, did you know the script, or every day was a surprise? Were you aware of what they were shooting, or every day was like a revelation?
No, we were reading the screenplay on the first day. Yes, I mean, my friend Frank, who was with me from German film school, and me, we got the screenplay and we had to read it in 1 day, and the next day shooting started. Okay. And then, of course, they have on each shooting day, they have a call sheet. Yeah. So we were part of the crew, so we got each day this paper where it was written what is shot and where, and which people are involved, and what kind of decoration and so on. So we were perfect informed.
That's very interesting because David Lynch, we know now a lot more about him, but at this point, although he had made very good movies, like you've mentioned, this film was, like Dennis Hopper said, like a rite of passage for him, and I guess for you. Mm-hmm. And for the characters, the characters as well, but the actors. For Isabella Rossellini, for example, for Kyle, for Laura Dern. So it was like the perfect time and the perfect place for a whole bunch of people.
Yes, it was also the comeback of Dennis Hopper.
Yes.
And it was one of the first films of Laura Dern, and it was the last bigger role from Jack Nance, right, which we really liked. I mean, he had a small role still in Dune. And yeah, and Isabella. This was her first really big thing in America. She made 2 films before, but this was a breakthrough, let's say.
Good evening. Although I haven't been as close to David Lynch as through you right now, I don't want to use that. I don't want to exploit that too much. However, I am curious if you've kept in touch with him ever since, how often, and how was your relationship with David Lynch after all this? And if you were to ask him something right now, what would it be? And have you visited the Twin Peaks set that they just shot?
What was the first question?
The relationship with
yeah, I sent him a copy of my film, a 60mm copy. So Isabella was at that time living together with him. She looked at it immediately and sent me a mail, a post written, that she really likes it. And I asked, did David see it? And she said, I don't know. And years later he said to somebody else, a friend of mine, and said, greetings to Peter, his film is great, he's a good worker, and so. So I heard several times that he likes the movie. But I didn't have any more physical contact. I mean, the one 15 months after the shooting in Germany, when they promoted Blue Velvet, we had contact.
what I mean is, it's obvious that you are very curious in this person, as a lot of us are. What would you ask him right now?
Yeah, it's very simple, you know. I would say to him, look, I'm trying since 30 years to make a fiction movie and nobody gives me money. Can you give me money without having any screenplay? Like 500,000 would do, you know, and then I could make my own Eraserhead. This is because I think you need some kind of producer which understands you and which trusts you, you know, and it's difficult to find money for let's say unusual projects. So let's say if you would in Germany now send a screenplay like Eraserhead to the Film Foundation, they would never give you money. Or Mulholland Drive, you know. But in David's case it's different because he's David Lynch, you know. So this would be the first question I would ask him.
I thought it was fascinating when Lynch was talking about how you're almost foreseeing the technology and how you would love to sort of have that new technology. I'm sort of fascinated to hear what you think. If you would have had that style of technology then, how do you think your film would have been different? And would you want to have the access to that technology, or do you want to hold on to that 16mm?
Yeah. I mean, I was suffering to shoot on Super 8. I wanted to shoot on 16, but not for the purpose of having more material, only for the fact that I would have a negative and not a Super 8 positive, which is can be very harmed. And if I would have these chances like today, you go with a photo camera and shoot each day 100 minutes. After 3 months, I would have something like 90 hours or 120 hours. So I always like this, that you have a restriction inside, you know, and that you make a decision before, and not that you don't even have to have the troubles to sit in the editing room and make a selection. So I made a film after that, which was cut in the camera, which had for 60 minutes movie, 60 minutes material, and this was bought by German television, public television. So this is somehow an advantage, you know, you have less possibilities, so you have to find out more, you must make a positive idea from it. So it's a problem, but you turn it into a fortune.
Another thing I liked was the fact that you sort of had chapters, like chapters for each character, and you gave them a voice of their own. It was, we could see the actors or the actor reliving the character and saying it to you. That's very unusual. They really must have trusted you. You said you were almost a member of the crew, but that's fantastic. Yes. Congratulations. But another thing is, how long did it take you to edit all this stuff? Because there's so many material. There's Super 8, there's black and white photograph, there's video, there's that part where they come to Munich, isn't it?
Yes.
So how long did it take you to edit everything, to give it such a flow? Because the film it has a very nice flow to it.
Yeah, I didn't have so much material, you know. I had something like 1,000 photos, 3 or 4 hours Super 8, and 4 hours video. But from the video, I used only, let's say, 1 minute. So the flow comes from the music. And I had, the Super 8 material is basically silent. So it's a silent movie. So how can I show somebody that I have very nice material and make it also interesting for other people, and also to get the extract out of it, I have to make it as good as possible. So I have to think about what is happening on the sound level. So I choose the music first. And the music was somehow producing this flow. And the musicians were giving each song a title. And then later a designer used the same titles. And I also, for these titles, I actually then tried to do something which has to do with it, like Jeffrey, Nothing, Sandy, Dorothy, and so on. And this is just giving the film a little bit of rhythm, which makes it easier for the audience to, you know, I mean, it has a flow, but also it has a rhythm, you know, like a very, very slow train. So maybe sometimes it stops and it goes on. You know, but it is a rhythm, it's a flow. And it's necessary to put this material together, because otherwise it would still stay in boxes and nobody could see it, and I could even not offer it to somebody. You know? But now I can offer it to festivals, maybe to television or whatever. David chooses for his own festival. David Lynch had a festival in Los Angeles in the beginning of October. It's called Festival of Disruption. It was over 2 days, and there were a lot of famous people invited, musicians, and so Robert Plant was headliner, for example, and Mel Brooks was talking, Kyle and Laura were there, and then was Angelo Badalamenti with the symphony orchestra playing music, and he showed Elephant Man and my film. And this was happening in the Ace Hotel, which was the former headquarters of United Artists. It's the most prestigious place in Hollywood, and the seats were sold out in 24 hours, or let's say 48 hours. Ticket price €200 or 350 for the better ones. And it was a benefit thing for the David Lynch Foundation. And yeah, this was a big honor for me to be there. This was a US premiere.
I just want to know how long did it take to shoot the scenes, all the scenes, the film itself, for David Lynch? How long were you at the set?
3 months.
3 months. Okay.
We had exactly 3 months shooting.
Okay.
Yes. And 1 year later, the film was finished, Blue Velvet, and then he had a promotion in Germany for the final film. And at this promotion, I filmed again something with him, because I had to sign a contract that I will not publish anything in Germany before the film will be published in Germany.
It was only the lack of financing that prevented you from having done this before, right?
Yes.
But I read somewhere that.
No, but I made a film before.
Oh, I know, but this film, that you couldn't edit it because you didn't have enough money.
Yes.
And at one point you thought the film was lost. What did you mean lost exactly? This one, the footage for this one.
No, I got from German Film Foundation 25,000 euros, and then they cut off as 1,500 for the tax office. And the last 5,000 they give you when the film is finished. I still don't have this money. So 8,000 went to the musicians. So I had 7,000 to make this movie. This was impossible, because in between I had to pay this and that, and everything broke down. And but luckily, the Slovene Film Foundation stepped in with the same amount. So they covered the post-production costs. But in between, I had financial problems, and I had to make a different movie, which was already 3 years before announced, and then finally it came, and so then this film was again laying for 9 months on the desk.
I might be wrong, but I think the person who did the titles is the same person who did the last album covers for David Bowie.
Yes.
The
last
was
15
it?
years.
I beg your pardon?
The last 15 years.
Yeah, he made several covers. How did you get to have him working for you?
Yeah. This everything came to through Eric Stein, which is the main guy from Cult with No Name, and he has a lot of good friends in London. So, including John Fox from Ultravox, you know, and one of his best friends is Jonathan Barnbrook, the designer from David Bowie, and Banksy and Hearst and all this. So really top designer of England, and he's a big fan of Blue Velvet. So I said, I can't pay you. He said, let's see, let's start, and you can give me what you can give me, and so I still have to pay him. But I was very proud to have him on board, of course. And it was his idea to make it like this, like it is. And yeah, it gives the film a design, you know.
And what happened to you and that girl you were talking in the movie about?
Yeah, she came then, actually. She lived then at my place, and she got then a job as a stand-in for Laura Dern. And she was then for 6 weeks working there, and always when they had to put the light, she was standing there for half an hour. And when everything was right, then she was replaced with Laura Dern. And then she went back and I never saw her again. This was only a small episode, you know, but it was true that I was so much into emotional despair that I for 5 or 20 seconds thought maybe this is more important, you know. So David had a lot of fun that I decided for him. Actually, I'm very, very happy that I did this.
So I just wanted to ask you if there's any special or any specific practices that you have that really boost your creative process. Like I've read Catching the Big Fish from David Lynch, where he talks about especially meditation, and how that boosts his creative process. And I'd like to know if you have any practice or any habits that you really find helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I like to improvise, and I like to go into some kind of experiments, but I don't see experiments, you know, in the old way of you scratch something, then you make something turn around and distort the sound and play it backwards, and you say this is an experimental movie. No, I tried, for me it's an experiment when you have a problem which is you can't nearly solve it, to find out how you can solve it. And in this case, the experiment was to make the best out of it, and there I took all my, in brackets, talents, you know, because from the beginning in the film school I was illustrating music. I choose classical music from Bela Bartok, I choose punk rock, I choose folk music, and I just made pictures to it. Before a video clip came, actually, this was my idea, and this I like to do, to edit on music. And in this music I was even initiating. I was ordering it, and it was made specially for the film, especially after my, let's say, concept. And then it's also, let's say you have to find a balance. When comes an interview, when comes the title, what kind of interviews are coming, where comes the photos. So this is a question of balancing. It's like somebody who goes from one twin tower to the other, you know, so you're going over a thin wire and you can collapse each moment. So, and it's somehow funny when you find out that it's functioning. You immediately recognize when you edit and it's falling apart. Then you have to start again, or you have to find a different solution, but you must find always a solution. And I think this is what I like the most, to find solutions.
Given the very personal experience you had of being on set and working on set, how did you feel about the finished film of Blue Velvet when you finally saw it in its entirety?
This is a very, let's say, unusual experience. But to make it short, once you were inside a film so intensively, like me, then the final product is lost. For me, it was lost. It's like, poof, it's empty, it's nothing. So I saw it, but you know, when you saw everything, what was before and what was behind, who is standing behind this mirror, and what, I mean, then especially this product can't overwhelm you anymore, because it's like it's the same like your father is dressing like a Christmas man, you know, and you see how he's dressing, and then he comes around the corner and says, "Hi, I'm the Christmas man." No, you must be completely surprised. You must see the whole thing for the first time without knowing what is behind, you know. And I think this is the same in literature or in painting. And this happened to me 3 times, because I worked 3 times on big movies and they were lost. It's a pity, you know, that for me as a completely David Lynch film, especially his best film, is lost. So I think when I see it now again, I can enjoy it. But when I saw it immediately, it didn't have this effect like Elephant Man or Eraserhead, you know. It was a vacuum. So it's very hard. I'm not saying that this was a bad experience. It was very strange. You know, it was like.
You've seen the inside of the film. It's somehow it lost the magic to it because you saw the inside.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Or you were really so.
For a band would be different. If you see the Beatles or the Stones for half a month making sessions, and then comes the record, you see, oh, the best from the sessions is on the record. But the film is different. It's constructed from all these different elements, and then put together, and only the final film makes sense. And this is also a director's cut, because David had completely control. This is exactly what he wanted. I mean, just consider, for me it was somehow vacuum, neutral.
I will just maybe wrap this up, finish by saying I practice meditation, and I really think that the word you chose, that's really accurate. A meditation on a movie, it really takes you on a journey, like what you did. The first image of the film is like the ear, just like the David Lynch film. It takes you on a subconscious journey, and I find that very beautiful. And I want to thank you for being here and for sharing with us your thoughts and the movie and the vinyls and the posters. And we hope to see you sometime in the future with another film, which won't take as long to make as this one, 30 years. Okay, thank you.
30 years was a different story, but this took 3 years because of less money.
Yeah, but could you tell us about the 30 years? Because that's what I was asking earlier.
In these 30 years, everything else happened. You know, marriage, kids, moving to other countries, different movies, you know, all these kind of things. And I had permanently this in the back of my head that I have to clear this. It must be, I knew there's a box full of Super 8, there's a box full of photographs. No, I must bring it out, I must save it, I must put it for the audience, not only for the David Lynch fans or for the film students, but also for myself. You know, it had to be brought in a form. Otherwise, a big value gets lost.
It's a film about you in that sense as well.
Yeah, yeah.
About that urge to
Yes, I really went back for 30 years ago, but on the other side, this film is also a look forward, you know, because I had completely freedom. I didn't have any editor from television sitting next to me telling me what to do. I didn't have anybody. Of course, I invited friends. I had 5 or 6 screenings in different versions, and we discussed about the rhythm. But basically, this is completely my film. You know, I made everything in this, with the exception of the music. You know.
And it's a beautiful film.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.